Empath. Empath personal and spiritual healing. Harnessing your gift for the highly sensitive person. Written by Frank Knoll. Narrated by Sangeeta Chauhan. Table of Contents. Introduction. Chapter 1. Are you an empath? Chapter 2. The False Self. Chapter 3. The Phases of Development of an Empath. Chapter 4. The Core Wound. Chapter 5. Living in Society with Your Gift. Chapter 6. Reasons for Not Healing. Chapter 7. Empath Healing Techniques. Chapter 8. Repressed Sexuality. Chapter 9. Finding Your True Self. Chapter 10. Recharging. Conclusion. Empath. Empath personal and spiritual healing. Harnessing your gift for the highly sensitive person. Written by Frank Knoll. Narrated by Sangeeta Chauhan. Chapter 1. Are you an empath? Empaths, in the simplest terms, are sensitive individuals. However, there are so many things beyond this plain description that the world needs to understand. Things that hold the true meaning of being an empath. These are the vast grey scale that are often left blurred and ignored because the world is so used to simplifying things into either black or white. Being an empath is not a choice between black and white. It is not even a choice to begin with. You are either born an empath or you are not. Empaths feel people's emotions with their sensitivity consciously or subconsciously. This means the feelings they get from other people's emotions are not necessarily under their own control. An empath can feel the emotion behind a certain person without the need to hear that person speak. There are also instances where an empath can feel the true emotion behind a modified tone. So it does not matter if the person speaks in a joyful tone. If he is sad, he will sound sad to an empath. If people hear voices, empaths feel them. There are empaths who can easily read emotions through people's eyes. There are some who can sense feelings through smell. There are even empaths who tend to refrain from eating meat because they feel like they are tasting the animal's suffering. Overreaction? No. Feelings for an empath come in the form of sight, sound, taste, smell, and physical contact. The ability to sense things even in the absence of an actual intention to feel them is like a built-in enhancement to all their senses. Empaths' abilities are not limited to emotions, by the way. They can also sense physical suffering and can even have tendencies to adopt such illness. Yes, it happens to empaths. Sometimes the physical pain, aches and fatigue are a result of absorbing too much emotions from people. Empaths are also spiritually connected to human beings. Although often misunderstood, they often have the greatest unending hope for humanity. By knowing these things, you may now start identifying whether you are an empath or not. But let me tell you one thing. The fact that you are reading this right now, chances are you are an empath. And to help you confirm that, here are the general characteristics that empaths naturally possess. Ability to easily feel the emotions of other people. As an empath, you are more focused on your external surroundings, and that gives you the ability to have a deeper understanding of your environment, particularly people. You don't need to hear people saying, "I'm sad," to know that they are. The moment you see them, feel them or hear them, you can already sense the emotions they are holding inside themselves. Emotions are always naturally transferred to or shared with you, with or without your conscious knowledge. Carrying others' burden. In general, people can only truly understand someone's struggle if they themselves have experienced the same. Empaths do not usually require initial experience to understand the burden a certain person carries on his shoulders. Although majority of people do not know the difference between knowing what other people feel and understanding what they are going through. But empaths do, and because of that, they often end up carrying others' burdens. Sense of truth. You know things well because you observe them. You know what's true and what's not. Although there is no solid scientific explanation to support this, it is almost only because this ability does not come from your physical senses, nor your guts, nor your intuition. It is a natural feeling that you get when you are listening to people. Getting others' physical symptoms. As once mentioned above, Empaths are not just sensitive to people's emotions. Their sensitivity extends even to other people's physical pain and suffering. This does not only happen by mere physical touch or transfer of airborne virus, although this could be a factor. They also have tendencies to get sick or feel unwell once they feel the weariness the other person is feeling. Overwhelmed by public. Unless needed, you do not prefer staying in a public place. Public is a place where a number of varying energies from different people meet. It is a huge pool of different emotions gathering all at once. And what's worse than uncontrollably getting somebody else's suffering is acquiring a lot of them from many people. Do you possess most or all of these traits? If yes, it is safe to assume now that you are an empath. Do not worry though, as these are not the only things empaths have as their characteristics. There are several specific attributes that you may also relate to, and may help you further affirm your empathic trait. You feel suffering even on screen. Do you sometimes turn off the TV when you see news about tragic events? Do you switch channels because of a mere commercial about violence? Or do you usually feel the desire to help the protagonist of a certain movie, just because he was being mistreated and bullied by the antagonist? If yes, it is most probably because empaths like you do not need to be in the actual scenario to feel what is happening in there. You need time to be alone. Solitude is your favourite escapade when things are getting rough, and many people are getting unbearably emotional. Even when you don't always grant yourself some time to be alone, you always tend to long for it. It is normal for empaths. Being alone is your opportunity to free yourself from any stress and gather energy to move and to face the world again. You are deeply connected to nature. You enjoy being with other living things. You talk to dogs, cats, birds and any other animals. Despite not getting response from them, you believe they can feel and understand you. You believe they are a part of your existence, and you tend to get attached to them more deeply than other people do. Your heart is always close to nature as well. The fresh wind from the trees relaxes you just as much as the sound of ocean waves do. You feel free when you are on the mountains, or on the beach, or under trees. Nature feeds the spirits of empaths. You are fond of adventures. Your connection to nature is the bottom line of this trait. Either you love travelling, or you enjoy the thought of it in case you haven't travelled yet. Nature gives you the freedom to breathe in the positive energies and breathe out the negativities. You love going to different places and feel as if your existence is a part of their history. You are a free spirit, just like any other empath. You get bored easily. Once you see things are getting less interesting, you get bored. You tend to make your life more exciting and more stimulating to keep yourself going. Distractions are your enemy. You start losing focus on doing a certain thing once you feel like working on it is unnecessary and won't give you anything. You tend to look for changes and modifications just so you could save yourself from totally losing interest on one thing. You are creative. Empaths have hidden talents, and some are lucky to have discovered theirs already. All of these talents link to the fact that empaths are naturally creative individuals. You prefer creating things out of basically anything. You have a deep passion for creation and a great sense of art too. Painting, writing, drawing or playing musical instruments are just some of the dominant talents empaths usually possess. Painting, writing, drawing or playing musical instruments are just some of the dominant talents empaths usually possess, although there are still hundreds of talents that you and all the other empaths can discover in yourselves. You love to daydream. With your tendencies to get bored easily, plus your creativity, you are consequently prone to the habit of daydreaming. Whether you are at home or you are in class, or even when somebody is talking to you, if things get boring, you daydream. Being able to daydream just means your mind is healthy, but daydreaming all the time is something which is not any more associated with being an empath. You always seek for knowledge. As an empath, you have an intense passion to seek answers for your questions. Doubts make you feel uneasy. Also, you never want your mind idled. You feed it with continuous knowledge about different things, mostly those which interest you. You are always curious about things that you do not know much about. You are always eager to learn new things. You hate rules. This does not mean you are a rebel, though. That's a different thing. You don't like rules because you feel like you are being controlled. You never liked it when your freedom is being taken from you. Remember, empaths are free spirits. You always look out for the outcasts, the bullied, the so-called nerd, the fat kid at school who never had a friend. You always see them from afar and feel the desire to be friends with them. You know that they are the talented people, the smart ones, or simply the people who also want to feel appreciated. You hate egocentrics. This is not a surprise for somebody who has been spending his life caring about people and trying to help them all the time. Egocentrics are your total opposite, and you never like their tone. You do not tolerate selfishness, as you think it is one of the primary reasons why the world is experiencing violence and hate instead of harmony and love. You appear shy. You often do not feel the need to talk too much, and that leads people to the misconception that you are shy. Some empaths are shy, most especially when they do not know how to handle their abilities. Some empaths, however, are used to engaging in conversation. Confidence is more or less a matter of experience and is not necessarily about whether you are an empath or not. You are an excellent listener. Since you are more concerned about your surroundings than yourself, you tend to be more welcoming to other people's confessions, sentiments, stories and opinions. People love it when they confess to you. You listen sincerely to them. You give pieces of advice and sometimes inspiring words to make them feel better. You listen because you want to understand people and not because you just want to have something to hear about them. Chapter 2. The False Self. If you could relate to all or most of the signs listed in the previous chapter, then I can guarantee that you are an empath. However, what I cannot guarantee is your feeling or reaction toward it. Are you surprised? Are you sad? Or are you feeling indifferent? Or maybe happy? If you are one of those few gifted empaths who are born with an indestructible optimism that does not get broken despite absorbing an overwhelming amount of raw emotions, then most probably you are happy about being an empath. If you are not, though, there is nothing to worry. I, together with a lot of empaths out there, have been there. There may be moments in your life when you think you are better off without these excessively sensitive emotional senses. Or worse, you carry these thoughts every day. You are not the only one. I mean, as an empath, who doesn't get worried about having a tendency to destroy his own day just because of the mere fact that he is sensitive? Being able to empathize with everyone's feelings is just sometimes too much to handle. Plus, you are often misunderstood for it. Sadly, other people can't seem to find time to understand empaths like us. So they judge us, bully us, or ignore our feelings instead. And this often leads to an empath creating an entity whom everyone likes, but nobody truly knows about. The false self. The idea of false self. A handsome, dashing guy with a perfect, pleasing personality who walks along the corridor feeling cool and confident,